The boy who chased one more sunrise. Let me tell you a story. There was once a 17-year-old boy named Ethan Carter who had one dream: to become a national champion in long-distance running. Every morning, before the sun came up, while everyone else was sleeping, Ethan was already out on the empty roads training. He believed that every step brought him closer to his dream. But one day, during the biggest race of his life, everything changed. Just a few hundred meters before the finish line, Ethan collapsed. He had a severe stress fracture in his leg. When the doctors examined him, they said, "You won't be able to compete for a long time." Those words broke his heart. For weeks, Ethan stayed in his room. His running shoes gathered dust, and every medal on his wall reminded him of the dream he thought he had lost. He stopped talking to his friends and almost gave up on life. Then one evening, his grandfather came to visit. Without saying much, he placed a tiny seed in Ethan's hand and said, "Plant this." Ethan was confused. "How can a seed help me?" His grandfather simply smiled and replied, "Because dreams grow the same way trees do." To make his grandfather happy, Ethan planted the seed in the backyard. The next morning, his grandfather asked him to water it. Ethan looked at the soil and said, "There's nothing there." "Water it anyway," his grandfather replied. So Ethan watered the soil every day. One day passed. Nothing happened. A week passed. Still nothing. Ethan became frustrated and said, "This is pointless." His grandfather smiled and said, "You're watering something you can't see. That's called faith." Those words stayed in Ethan's mind. A few weeks later, a tiny green sprout finally appeared. It was small and weak, but it had survived underground long enough to reach the sunlight. His grandfather pointed at the little plant and said, "Success doesn't begin when people notice you. It begins when you keep growing even when nobody can see." Ethan finally understood. Since he couldn't run, he decided to grow in other ways. He started reading books about discipline, sports psychology, nutrition, and personal development. Every day he learned something new while his legs slowly healed. Months later, Ethan returned to training. He was slower than before and couldn't even run for 10 minutes without stopping. He felt discouraged again. One day, his grandfather handed him 2 heavy bricks and asked him to carry them around the yard. After a while, Ethan said, "These bricks are so heavy." His grandfather smiled and asked, "If you carry them every day, will the bricks become lighter?" Ethan answered, "No. I'll become stronger." "Exactly," his grandfather said. From that day on, Ethan stopped focusing on how fast he was becoming. Instead, he focused on being consistent. One more workout. One more healthy meal. One more early morning. One more sunrise. As the months passed, the tiny seed grew into a young tree. Its roots spread deep underground where nobody could see them. Then one day, a powerful storm hit the town. Many large trees lost their branches, but Ethan's young tree remained standing. His grandfather smiled and said, "People admire the tree because it stayed standing, but nobody applauds the roots." Ethan realized that his unseen efforts, his discipline, patience, and daily habits, were becoming his roots. The following season, Ethan entered another race. Nobody expected him to win. He started near the back of the group while the other runners rushed ahead. But Ethan stayed calm. He trusted his preparation. One by one, the runners in front of him began to slow down. Ethan kept moving forward at his own pace. He crossed the finish line in 3rd place. Some people thought 3rd place wasn't special. But for Ethan, it meant everything. He hadn't defeated the other runners. He had defeated the version of himself who once believed he was finished. A year later, Ethan qualified for the national championship again. This time, he stood at the starting line without fear. The race began. Near the finish, only one runner remained ahead of him. His legs burned. His lungs screamed. His mind whispered, "Stop." But his heart answered, "One more step." With every ounce of strength he had left, Ethan sprinted toward the finish line. The officials checked the photo finish. The crowd erupted with applause. After the race, a reporter asked, "What's the secret to your success?" Ethan smiled and replied, "My success began the day I watered a seed that hadn't grown yet." Years later, Ethan became a famous coach. Whenever young athletes asked him how to become champions, he would take them into his garden and point to the giant tree that had grown from that tiny seed. He would ask, "What do you see?" "A strong tree," they would answer. Ethan would smile and say, "I see 10,000 days of invisible growth." And that is the lesson. Success doesn't happen overnight. The trophies, medals, and applause are only the branches. The real victory is built in the quiet moments when nobody is watching. So if you're chasing a dream, don't give up because you can't see results yet. Keep believing. Keep working. Keep growing. And keep taking one more step. Because one day, the world will admire your tree without ever knowing how long your roots were growing underground.